What's cracking, everybody, and welcome to episode 61 of the Good Kraken podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ernell Pearson, alongside the five-star man, Devin Stanford.
Hi. How y'all doing?
Oh, it's late. It's late out here, baby. You're looking pretty cold down there, boy. You're looking pretty cold down there,
dude. It's a little chilly. It's a little chilly, but you know what? It's a vibe though because I get to put on my sweats. I get to put on my hoodies, my long sleeve t-shirts. You know, I get to get all cozy. My dog cuddles me more.
And you know how much I like seeing you in those gray sweatpants.
They're
You little slut.
yeah. What's up?
And the queen of bitchin' herself, Genesee Gabrielle. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
It's
I'm
lit.
Good, I'm good.
It's lit. It's lit. You sound wonderful. We got you the new mic. We got you all set to go.
You guys are the fucking best. I've never sounded better.
Except
Not
for in
even
person,
after
of
my
course.
voice dropped.
Yeah. And okay. Raven in the chat. I love you and your butts, mostly your butts, but I'll take what I can get. And Genesee, you do sound wonderful, is what Raven says. Raven says you sound great, which you do.
Thank you,
sound
Raven.
awesome. It's good. It's good to finally have you sounding like a professional. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah, no, for realsies.
And you're wearing a matching hat. Like, welcome to the family. You know what I mean?
I'm one of the boys now.
Yeah, you got your dad hat and everything.
I know.
This is my official the husbands material. My brother-in-law and I, like, one day we were just like, we're the husbands, and we like joined ranks, and he gave me his Coca-Cola hat, and now we just show up and I grill. Sorry, Jason, but I'm the griller.
That's fair. Raven also says if you need a new camera, let me know. I'll hook you up to Genesee.
Oh,
Please fix my life. All of my gamer babies, please fix my life.
See that
gamer babies.
See that's the plus side of having of gamer kids and streamer hoes here as your friends, because that's what we are. That's what we are here in Good Kraken. So we're streamer hoes. I
love that.
As I like to call myself, streamer bitch. For right now, just for now. Until
I could fuck with that brand. Hell yeah.
That's so good. Genesee, how have you been since we last had you on?
I have been so all over the place, but mostly good. I've been busy as shit. I don't know if you know this, but I'm self-employed. So like this is a really interesting time to be self-employed. I'm like, especially like entering the end of the year. I've just been like kind of all over the place with new projects and doing this stuff and all of that good stuff. My nephew turns 1 on Friday, which is a fucking fake. Like, I just saw him this morning. It's fucking fake. He's not allowed to get older. This isn't cute. I mean, it's adorable.
Okay, sure. Sounds fake, but okay. You know.
I went over to my sister's house this morning, and that little bitch was running around the house like on both legs, and I was like, "Last time you were just pushing around your walker. You're not supposed to be doing this yet." I was there like a week ago. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get it. I get it. My daughter hit 1, and I was like, Don't do it. Don't do it. Because my daughter's about to be 6. My daughter's about to be 6 in December. And I'm just like, can you just stay tiny? Can you just stay tiny for the rest of fucking existence? Because I don't need you growing up, because now she's like sentient, right? She's like,
she's a whole little person with like thoughts.
I can have full-on conversations with my child now, like full-on conversations with my child. And thank you, Husky, for that make rib command in the chat. I appreciate you. Because make rib gang forever, for real. My child can have full-fledged conversations now, but it's to the point now where it's like she says things that like she can have conversations, but some of it's nonsensical. So it's like she'll say things, and I'm like, "Sure, child, sure." And because it's at that point, right? It's at that point. Even like Raven says, in chat, I feel like my youngest turned 2, and now I'm gonna take the pill to fuck this Matrix shit up. Well, all of you are here in the Matrix, the Kraken Matrix, because this is the Good Kraken Podcast, your choice for all the nerdy video game news and pop media news, reviews, and discussions that you want to hear live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and Saturday at 12 p.m. If you're riding this wave, you can head on over to patreon.com/goodkrakenshow, where you can submit questions and topics to the show, get exclusive post-show content, and have early access to episodes before they go live on podcast and video services across the 7 seas, motherfucker. God damn, I love this show. However, if you've emptied your pockets for the latest and greatest in entertainment, that is totally fine. You can watch us record the show live right here at twitch.tv/goodkrakenshow. If you have Amazon Prime, you also have Twitch Prime. We would love for you to give that to us to help keep us pushing content out for all of you listening and or watching at home. But you can also support us by going to our YouTube channel, by clicking that beautiful bell and big red button on there, or by subscribing to our podcast channel by searching Good Kraken with an exclamation mark and leaving a review there. Damn it! We have some captain's motherfucking orders, my guy. So, firstly, actually, I changed the first one. So we hit our $200 goal. And our $200 fundraiser goal, as some of you may have seen in our thermometer pictures, all this other stuff, had dictated that did Devin make. Well, first off, you didn't even spell make chicken. You spelled make cockin.
There's no O. There's no I. You can determine this for whatever you want. So the fact that you think McCocken means you got something else on your mind right now.
I hate that we continue to make commands that are so fucking useless on the grander scale of things. I hate it so much. Like, because Raven's gonna see that. Raven's gonna be like, "You fuckers."
Nope, they're not useless. They're all important and they're relevant.
I fucking love it. I love it so much. So we hit our $200 goal. Okay, we hit our $200 goal. That means we are now going to be doing the Shipwreck Show as a weekly show for you guys. Starting actually next week, we're going to be recording our very first official Shipwreck Show episode. And then that'll be releasing the following Sunday right after that. So you guys will have that there. But if you go to patreon.com/goodkrakenshow, you can get that actually the day after it comes out. You can have early access to that. Raven said make dick. No.
I like that alliteration a lot better than McCocken.
Yeah,
sure. That's fair. But our $200 goal means that we are going to be doing a live reaction to the 2021 Game Awards. I am so here for it. I'm excited. I already put in my request at work to make sure that I am good and ready to do all that. It's going to be so much fun. Raven, I think that was December 9th. Is when the date is on that one. So December 9th, we will be doing that faux show. It's going to be a damn good time.
Hee-haw.
Make hee-haw? Oh, God. Also, reminder, you can be a part of our fundraising for the month of October, and maybe beyond. We might do a little bit beyond, just to try to like budge for the rest of the thermometer a little bit, maybe. But you can support that without spending a single dollar by going and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Every subscription that we get from October 9th, when we started the fundraiser, up to November 9th, 1 month later, will be $2 for every subscription. You don't have to spend a single dollar. We're just going to count it as $2 just to see that we are getting you guys some content that you guys want to watch. So absolutely, it is fun. Devin, I feel like something we haven't done in a while is Long Ado, my guy. I feel like it's Long Ado. Devin,
what is that?
Could you give me some Nolan? Yep. Oh God, it's cutting out. It cut out a little bit, but it's fun. So it's our Nolan horn. We haven't done it in a long time, but you can't hear it on your end. You can't hear it on your end. I'm trying to figure out a way to maybe send the audio signal to you guys so you can hear the Nolan horn. But I'll play it again for the people at home. Nolan horn. Anyways, so first off, we are doing a review episode today. So most of our episode is actually Where's the Mike's coming up with another subscription. What's happening, baby? What was that?
Wait, what come out with another subscription?
The rarest of mics in the chat. He did another subscription for us. Oh, thank you so
thank
much.
God.
Thank you so much.
I thought you said something else. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I thought you
okay.
said HBO Max came out with another subscription level, and I was like,
Oh, God.
HBO needs to be stopped.
Yeah, no, yeah, don't let them do that. Don't let them do that. But we are doing another review format episode, and because of such, we are not going to be doing our usual big news segments. Instead, we are just going to do some little waves for you guys. So real quick, we're just gonna burn through these really fast. Little Waves is our very fast news segment where we take some news stuff that we didn't think would have really big conversations, and we're just gonna click them to burn right through those puppies. So first off, we have Sony to release 2 untitled Marvel movies in 2023. So they have not specified what these are, but they did specify June 23rd and October 6th of 2023. Speculation, I'm sure there's a lot of speculation of what this could be. I saw some people saying that there's talk of a World War Hulk sort of potential thing that they could be doing. There's a lot of stuff that they could do. What's up, Devin?
So Hulk was actually owned by Universal, and Marvel officially retains the whole rights to Hulk now again.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would be a Sony thing.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, I was off track. I was thinking something else. Sorry. My bad. The next one that Sony is slated to release is Kraken the Hunter. I know that much. Do you guys have any quick speculations? What you guys think it might be?
I think we might get another. Well, obviously, we have a Spider-Verse movie, another animated Spider-Verse movie that's getting worked on right now. So that could be one of the movies that we're getting. Mm-hmm. We have Kraken the Hunter coming, and we also have in Homecoming, we had Scorpion get introduced.
Yes.
Before him actually being Scorpion. So maybe that could be a potential for maybe we haven't seen No Way Home yet, but maybe there might be some expanded Spider-Verse in the live action sense if all the rumors are true with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, because there are rumors circulating around that they might continue and do a part 2 to that, and that might be more on the Sony side than the Marvel side, but still partnershiped.
Okay. Isn't Tom Holland also contracted for a live action with Sony?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so his contract might be up with Marvel, but I think his new contract is going with Sony, but they're still going to have that cross, partnership with the characters and keep that MCU interconnected, because I mean, at the end of Venom, there's that cutscene, right? It's whether that's relative to No Way Home coming out or another project in the future, that could be the thing. But it's hard to say. We can only speculate at this time,
Husky's in the chat, and he says a potential Morbius sequel to the forever delayed Morbius movie that everyone has forgotten about but me, because it's fucking Morbius.
Oh, dude, I'm stoked on Morbius.
I'm so stoked on that movie.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I do not like Jared Leto at all. I really don't.
And do any of us really like Jared
Leto? I like 30 Seconds to Mars, Can't break me down. Genesee's like, I hate this.
Yeah.
I have to remind myself who Jared Leto is. I'm Googling him.
The worst Joker we've ever gotten on screen.
Oh, Suicide Squad. That's why I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to be in House of Gucci, too.
Yeah, see, the rarest of mics, he's not a bad musician. That's why I like 30 Seconds to Mars. I do.
I also will maybe say that he's not necessarily the worst Joker we've ever had, because there has been worse, but I really did not like him.
Look, and the main reason I don't like him is because he has a cult and he's fucking weird. Okay?
Yeah.
I just want to emphasize that. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, all right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm not saying that at all. I don't know. That's a whole other topic.
I know. That's a whole other conversation.
But I am excited for Morbius. I am.
Sure. Next up, we have Hayden Christensen will also be in Disney Plus's Ahsoka series. So Hayden Christensen, it had been confirmed that he will be in Obi, the Obi-Wan, the new show, the new Star Wars show that's going to be coming out on Disney Plus. We got a follow from the real Dexy86. Thank you for following.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so Hayden Christensen was confirmed to be in Obi-Wan, and just the other day they announced that yes, he will be also in Ahsoka after he is in Obi-Wan. So it's lit. It's tight. We're getting Hayden Christensen back. I'm curious as to what exactly they're going to be doing with him in this.
I wonder if he's going to be like a Force ghost, because Ahsoka is supposed to be based around the Mandalorian, right? Like that same timeline.
Well,
correct?
Not necessarily, because Ahsoka was part of the Clone Wars. And so
I know,
there's
but
a big time window. So if we're talking like the live action Ahsoka, then yes, right? So
yeah. Because from what I excuse me, from what I understand is that the Ahsoka series is in the same timeline as the Mandalorian with Rosario Dawson, because that's the implications, because they brought Ahsoka back in the Mandalorian. Actually, it's one of my favorite episodes of that season. So, and they've already set the basis that she is looking for General Thrawn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could only assume that that's what the series is going to be about, you know. So
well, it's okay. So if I remember correctly, in chat, please correct me if I'm wrong here. I might be talking out of turn. If I remember correctly, the Mandalorian is set between episode 3 and episode 4. So
no, it's 10 years after Return of the Jedi.
I thought. Hold up.
Yep.
Hold up. No, the Mandalorian takes place like
no, because
way
the Empire,
before even episode 1.
No, it does not, because the Empire has already risen and fallen. They've already been taken. It's 10 years after the Battle of Endor.
No, you're right. So it's between episode 6 and episode 7. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yep. Yeah. Because that would have to make sense because of everything that happens with. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So yeah, Husky says Return of the Jedi, 4 ABY, The Mandalorian, 9 ABY, Star Wars The Force Awakens, 34 ABY. That's what it was. And ABY is the years. It's like 80, whatever. Yeah. In the new.
Thank you, Husky.
Thank you, chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see what they do with that. Genesee, have you watched Mandalorian yet?
I have watched. I'm like halfway through season 2.
Oh, you gotta finish it.
You gotta finish that. You gotta finish it.
You gotta finish it. I don't know how you haven't finished it.
I actually somehow haven't seen the big spoiler for the end of season 2 yet either, which I don't know how that fucking happened, but I need to finish it. I will.
Grind it.
I'll text you.
Yeah, Husky, I'm with you on that. It's got to be flashbacks or Force Ghosts. It's the only way that makes sense to me, and it's probably going to be Force Ghosts. Or both.
Maybe both. Maybe both.
Yeah, maybe we might get a flashback episode of her fighting Vader.
I mean, like obviously not to. Well, and anyways, we'll get to the next one here. It's the PlayStation State of Play broadcast coming next week. So the PlayStation is doing a dedicated 20-minute State of Play next Tuesday, I think it is, where they're focusing on just third-party titles the entire time. Cool. It's gonna be dope. It'll be fun. PlayStation doing third-party coverage is gonna be a damn good time. I think we'll probably get some stuff that they announced through the course of summertime, follow-ups, and then their last big State of Play that they did with like the big fat announcements. Devin, like we'll get some follow-up on some of those bad boys, like Spider-Man in the Avengers game will probably, more than likely, I feel like that's a safe bet that we'll finally get some announcements on that.
And maybe we'll get some more in depth on Sony PC content as well, since now we have God of War that was just announced to be coming to PC. We have Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy coming to PC now as well. Maybe we'll get Spider-Man on PC. Maybe they'll put Spider-Man on PC Avengers. I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah,
they won't, but we'll see.
I mean, we say that, and then they'll probably do it, 2 2 years later. So it's kind of the
Yeah.
going trend right now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I really want to see all this coming up, and I know this, you know, yeah. I'm excited. I want Sony to embrace PC because yes, they have good consoles, but they could open up their audience even more, especially with the fact that people can't get their hands on the PS5, you know? Because a
Yeah.
lot of these games they say that can only run on PS5. That's not true. They can run on PCs as well. The tech is on par, if not better, depending on people's rigs.
Because Master Race. Master Race, yeah. Yeah.
Mustard race. PC mustard
yes,
race.
Mustard Race, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy. The definitive edition gets gameplay trailer and a November release date. So it's going to be hitting consoles on November 11th. Oh, no. Sorry. Let me rephrase. It is hitting digital only on November 11th, and then we'll hit hard disc on December 7th. Genesee, did you play any Grand Theft Auto as a child? Were you a fucked up child like we were? Did you play any Grand Theft Auto?
I played a little bit, but only socially.
Sure.
That's fine.
Sure, that's
fine.
Yeah. Hey, you want to run over some people today?
Social
Yeah,
smoker.
Sure. Come on over. We can run over
Yeah.
some people.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to play Vice City and just use cheat codes and like hold myself up in a hotel and see how many police and army men I could kill. That's like what I did, and see how long could I survive with 5 stars. You know, that's what I used to do.
I used to do that, but like high speed chases. That was mine. That was my big one. So
that was San Andreas for me.
And for the people at home too, the Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy definitive edition is going to be Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto
Vice City,
and San Andreas. And the screenshots that they showed of it, the artwork looks real interesting. I'm here for it though. It looks cool. Next up, God of War coming to PC in January. Oh boy. I am so stoked for people that have not had PS4s and have had PCs to finally play the greatest game that has ever existed. Period.
It is a fantastic game, and I'm excited to play it again, just at a way higher fidelity. Even though it looked amazing, I just can't wait to see how it looks, you know, on my PC with all the upgrades I'm doing. And I just a little callback to the last story here. I am just now seeing this gameplay trailer that they put up of the trilogy. Holy crap! Did they really give this game a breath of fresh air? The water looks amazing. That's like GTA 5 water. Like, sorry, I'm actually kind of blown away by this. I'll leave it at that. But yes, God of War. It's a fantastic game. I am the resident Xbox guy, and I tip my hat and clap and bow to God of War. Okay,
It's good.
I played that game from start to finish. It's all like they do it one shot cam style as well through all the gameplay and the cutscenes and everything. There are no cuts, so it's extremely cinematic and it's really fun. And
amazing writing. It looks fucking beautiful. Everything about this game is going to be stunning on PC.
Yeah.
Husky in the chat says, honest question, will I be able to play God of War on PC with an Xbox controller?
Yes.
Yes. There's no fucking way you won't.
I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn on PC as well as Death Stranding, which were PlayStation exclusives, and I've been using an Xbox One controller to play those. So you'll have no problem with that.
So Husky also said, because like Blood Hunt, if you use the Xbox controller, shows everything for a PS controller. So what I've noticed is that some games are just kind of weird. So like what I have noticed on my end is that if it's a game that was more PlayStation focused, you will have a harder time using an Xbox controller, depending on how long ago it came out. So like God of War, you should be fine because it sounds like they've been working on that for a fucking hot minute now. So you should be totally 100% fine using an Xbox controller on this.
On Horizon Zero Dawn, the buttons actually all translate to the ABXY, no problem. Like it'll use those icons in game and stuff. So they did a lot of they made it a lot better and made it a lot more modular depending on what gamepad you use. You know, it doesn't have to be a PlayStation controller or an Xbox controller. You know, you can use all different third-party controllers now for the most part.
Sick. Genesee, you gotta get God of War. You gotta play God of War.
Yeah.
We're gonna make you
I
play
might
God of War.
for
Yeah.
you.
And then you gotta let me know what it's like when you fight Valkyries.
I don't know if Genesee's at that level. we might have to beat the Valkyries for Genesee, but we'll get there. In the meantime, our last little wave here: Alec Baldwin is unfortunately involved in a fatal discharge of a prop firearm that leaves one crew member dead, and that crew member is Helena Hutchins. Unfortunately, was a cinematographer that was helping filming this content, and the director unfortunately also got hit by the same ordeal, the same bullet, I guess you could say. Well, actually, no. Apparently, it's not a quote unquote bullet because apparently, so what's been happening based on what I've studied and what I've seen, and anyone who listens to this later or watches this later, please correct me in the comments below. What have you? Yes, Mike, rest in peace for sure. Apparently, what's been going on is that the Hollywood, we actually just covered this a couple weeks ago. Hollywood is currently going through a big unionization strike. And because of such, there's a lot of sets and directors and producers and stuff that are having to hire people that are not usually in rotation in Hollywood, that are involved in these sets, and so sometimes they are not up to par in what they have or could be doing in their experience in Hollywood making movies and stuff. Unfortunately, on this very fateful day, so they had a arms specialist handling the prop firearm for a scene that was the gun was being pointed at the camera, like old school like westerns, because that's what this is. This movie was called Rust. It's an old western style movie, and Alec Baldwin is playing someone with a revolver that was using this, and unfortunately this arms specialist apparently accidentally loaded a live bullet into the chamber of the gun. God damn it. Anyways, with that said, yes, rest in peace, Helena Hutchins. I hope the director, who also got injured during this happening, gets better real fucking soon. And Alec Baldwin, my heart goes out to him, because it's like, I could not imagine accidentally shooting someone and accidentally killing someone and having to live with that, like, in that sense, because he, like, dude, imagine he popped this thing off and probably didn't know what was happening for 15 seconds until realizing, like, oh shit, like, dude, go.
I have something. So I obviously, rest in peace. It's a tragic accident. Yes. It really is.
Yes.
I have some theories about this, Ernell, because I've been diving into this as well, and I will talk to you about this off stream. But I just there's some shit to look into with this.
There is some stuff. What I will make sure that I mention is that Alec Baldwin is the producer of this movie, which means that he is part of picking the people that are working on this movie. And unfortunately, the strike of the unionization stuff definitely does not fucking help at all, because they're having to hire people that are just not well trained, and that means instead of just giving them the unionization that they fucking want, they are instead hiring people that they shouldn't be hiring, and then things like this happen. But
and a lot of these directors, a lot of like mainstay directors, a lot of these mainstay actors are making tens of millions of dollars on these movies. It's like you can't cut out, like, I don't know, $1 million or $2 million of what you make off of this to make sure that your crew is paid adequately for the work that they produce. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. Again, I have some things I want to talk to you about, that I have some theories on this because I've looked into this a little bit.
Yeah,
so
we'll look into it. Mike's in the chat. He says it's pretty sketchy too, because there's not supposed to be live rounds on set, and it was the assistant director's job to make sure the weapon was loaded properly, and he's either an idiot or has never seen a real gun before. Well, okay, so the thing is that they don't use prop guns in Hollywood. There's no such thing technically as a prop gun. They use a real gun, but they use blank
With
ammunition. And because that's the only way for them to make a
Thanks
gun
for flash
real.
rounds.
Yeah, exactly. And so I looked into a bunch of like diagrams and stuff that's sort of explaining the anatomy of a prop bullet, like a blank bullet, and how it has like a plastic cap. Because at first, what they thought is that maybe it's this seal, the plastic seal that's on a blank bullet, that sometimes even on warning labels it says if this is within a certain distance, it can still be lethal. So you have to still be careful with blanks. And so at first they thought it was that, but then after doing some more research and investigating on their own, they have found that apparently, unfortunately, it was a live actual fucking bullet. But we'll see more as that rolls out over time. In the meantime, guys, let's get into something way more chipper. Okay, we have our headlining segment, The Gallows. We are doing our review of Dune, everybody. We watched Dune. We are so damn excited to talk about it today. Just as per usual, we are going to do the first half of this being spoiler-free, 100% spoiler-free for all of you listening and or watching at home. And we will let you guys know once we are in spoilers so that you can decide if you want to stick around and have some of it spoiled for you, or if you want to head out and go watch the movie and come back. This episode will be up in public for you guys on Monday, and you guys can come back and listen to it, or you can go to patreon.com/Kraken Show and get early access to this episode, which will be up on there at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. With that said, guys, Dune released October 22nd, 2021. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, apparently, is how I found out it's actually pronounced. Villeneuve. After all this time, we've done Villeneuve, we've done Villeneuve, it's apparently just fucking Villeneuve. Great.
It was released October 22nd, 2021 theatrically, but it was released October 21st on HBO Max.
On HBO, yes. And was actually released on October 14th internationally.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. So it had a bunch of different rollouts, bunch of different dates on it. Lots of fun stuff there. Budget of $165 million. We have not gotten exact numbers of the domestic box office, but so far globally it has made $129.7 million. Trivia for you guys. We got some fun information here. First off, composer Hans Zimmer is a big fan of the novel Dune and turned down working with frequent collaborator Christopher Nolan. Nolan. He turned down working with frequent collaborator Christopher Nolan on Tenet 2020 to score this film.
Hans Zimmer!
Hans Zimmer, the fucking legend. That guy is making the most wonderful things. And honestly, I like this movie way more than I like Tenet, but we'll get there. Secondly, a spin-off prequel series titled Dune: The Sisterhood was announced for HBO Max while the film was being promoted. Originally, Dune writer John Spates was announced as a showrunner, but he stepped down to focus on writing Dune Part 2 instead.
That has me very interested now, knowing what we know after seeing the movie. So I didn't even know this was a thing actually until I read this earlier in the notes.
Nobody really knew. We'll get there. We'll get there. Next, although not mentioned in the movie, the Great Houses originally come from Earth, explaining the use of Latin terms such as Bene Gesserit, meaning well done, and the name Gaius, the Scandinavian word Landsrad, the Dutch name De Vries. Although they live on planet Caladan, and the Atreides family has their roots in Earth's Greece, where the Minoan civilization was strongly associated with the bull creature Minotaurus. This may explain the Atreides' use of bull imagery and the implication that Paul's grandfather died in a bullfight. In the extended universe, an ancient Atreides ancestor has traced his lineage back to the Greek king Atreus, a character mentioned in the Greek Iliad. He adopted the surname Atreides, which literally means son of Atreus.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Pretty dope. The cool thing too is that like these sort of, I remember reading a bunch of stuff a long time ago talking about how the Atreides family is sort of also loosely based on like Italian, like culture more specifically, how they really kind of zone in on the Italian side of things, and you can kind of see that in the movie.
Yeah.
You can kind of really see that, and I thought that was a really, and we'll get into it because that was one of my favorite parts of this damn movie. Lastly, Warner Brothers announced that this movie will be streamed on HBO Max just as it hits the theaters. Director Denis Villeneuve has voiced his displeasure, claiming that the studio, quote, might have just killed the film, and that streaming can produce great content, but not movies of Dune's scope and scale. Warner Brothers' decision means Dune won't have the chance to perform financially in order to be viable, and piracy will ultimately triumph. My team and I devoted more than 3 years of our lives to make it a unique big screen experience. Our movie's image and sound were meticulously designed to be seen in theaters, end quote. Although Villeneuve has also expressed concerns that releasing the film on streaming would kill its box office potential and thereby the viability of the proposed sequel Dune Part 2, Warner Brothers has given assurances that the sequel will be greenlit as long as the movie performs well on HBO Max. So, Genesee, what were your top level thoughts of Dune?
My top level thoughts. I loved it, obviously. I don't think you could not love this movie. I feel like that's on a similar level of if Iron Man is your favorite superhero, that's a red flag. So I loved it.
What if I like Iron Man? What the fuck?
I'm sorry, Devin, but we're going to have to unpack that and see why you would... Okay, one of the funniest experiences I've ever had, actually, was I was going off, right? I was going off on Iron Man. I was like, if anybody tells you that Iron Man is their favorite superhero, walk away, because that is a toxic fucking trait. And my brother's girlfriend looks at me with the saddest little eyes, and she was like, Iron Man's my favorite character. And I was like, oh, I'm just kidding. Bye. I have to leave. I'm sorry. I'm going back to Portland.
He's one of my top 3. I'm not going to lie.
I love you, Devin, but do you recognize that he's not a good guy?
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. He's just got a really cool suit, and it's cool.
That's fine. I can respect that.
He's got a good character arc. He's got a good character arc. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He does have a bit of a redemption arc at the end. I just feel like it was for 8 years we were sitting there and everybody was like, oh, Iron Man, and I was like, you realize that he's the worst, right? Do you also hate women? Because he does.
We've all been in toxic relationships, all right? we've all
true.
had a little taste
I
of
also
toxicity.
did I did also like Iron Man at one point. I mean, to be fair, it was like the early 2010s, so everybody was a bit of a mess. But anywho, we're not here to talk about Iron Man. We're here to talk about fucking Dune. I loved it. Watching it in the theater between my wife Naomi and Ernell was the wildest experience, because I almost feel like I didn't just get the experience of watching Dune. I got the experience of their commentary with Dune, which made it 10 times better. I honestly, that's what one of my top level thoughts is Dune was low-key a comedy, and it wasn't. It shouldn't have been, but I couldn't stop laughing.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the fucking box? Anyways,
the whole movie, and I was like, oh no, not the box. And so it was really good. I was disappointed with how little of Zendaya I got. I mean, I know it makes sense. And going into it, it makes sense. But she was half of the fucking trailer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
And what you saw in the trailer was basically what you saw in the movie.
Yep.
Of her. So that was a bummer for me, but overall
of her specifically.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Specifically Zendaya. Everything else, there was so much. I mean, it's a 2.5-hour movie. There was a lot that you didn't get in the trailer.
Right.
And I'd also say Timothée Chalamet took this role and approached it brilliantly. I was very impressed with how well Timothée Chalamet did with such a complex character in Paul, because Paul is a very complicated character. And while the first movie is really just a glimpse of what we can expect to see from Paul, I mean, it's only half of book 1, and in book 1, he does so much as a character in his development. But I'm really excited to see him throughout the rest of this series, really step into Paul, because I think that it's a different type of role for him. And I was a little bit apprehensive of how he was going to approach such a deep character. Not that Timothy Chalamet can't be deep, but like I was very impressed with his performance.
Same. Retweet. Big retweet. Devin, what are your top level thoughts on Dune?
It was epic.
Sick. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was epic. And
Garrick in the chat says, I'll step into Paul.
yeah.
Go on.
Just like it was such a grand scale. Like, how did you guys have those jaw-dropping moments? Like, it was like almost like every 15 minutes you're just like, oh,
Dog.
Dude.
Seeing it in
Wow.
XD on
In
XD,
yeah.
just all the way across the fucking wall was some of the most extravagant shit. I'll get into it in a second. I'll get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so many times. Like me and my partner Sierra, we were watching it and we just went, "Whoa!" Like so many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the use of the characters too, as well, and like their relationships with Paul and stuff like that. And you know, seeing Timothy like played into this character so well and into those relationships, right? Not only that, the use of all the graphics, the sceneries, the special effects, it was just all there. It all looked so real. You know what I mean? And I need to watch this movie like 4 more times. That's how I feel. It, like just first impressions, and I can't wait for part 2 already. And to see where they go from there. And to be fair, I watched it on HBO Max and I still had a great experience because I watched it in 4K and it was great.
God damn, son. God damn, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie is a visual all you can fuck buffet. This oh my god. This fucking movie is just one of the most beautiful things I've ever laid my goddamn eyes on. Holy hell. This I couldn't believe it. It started and I was just like, they really figured out like scale. They figured out how to make things look good but also like deep in contrast, and just like the set pieces were gorgeous. Gorgeous. Everything in this fucking movie is just beautiful, down to the costume design, the way the characters look. Like, can we acknowledge Oscar Isaac's fucking beard lineup for a second? Oh, you beautiful fucking man! Oh my lord, did he look good in this fucking movie?
I'm disappointed that he's not keeping the beard for Moon Knight.
Well, you know, maybe he'll grow a beard. like Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Maybe he'll just grow a beard for like the second season or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But this Mike in the chat. Even the Alaskan bullworms looked good. Fuck. No, dude, seriously, everything in this movie just absolutely blew me out of the fucking water. They did such a good job giving us such a good adaptation from book to movie, and just basically saying, you know what, the 1984 version of Dune does not exist.
Didn't exist.
Don't even fucking worry about that movie.
Forget
because
it.
we fucking got you. Like, we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen, and we're just making a faithful adaptation of the fucking book. Granted, there's a lot of stuff that they left out from the books, but I like my thing, and I'm sure Garrick would agree with me here, is that, and honestly, you guys probably agree with me here too. This movie, I really, from the bottom of my heart, think it's going to be the next Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Like, this
I can see that.
series of movies is
Yeah.
going to, because even just the way they filmed this movie had such Lord of the Rings vibes from front to back. Like, the way they used like slow motion scenes in such a very good like, oh my god, we need to suspend this moment. Like, they used it so tastefully across the entire movie. And then like the scenes, any of the scenes that had to do with the Shai-Hulud, the earthworms, or the sandworms, that cool fucking ripple effect in the sand that they had was just one of the
Fucking
coolest fucking cinematic things ever. Just like, they did so many just little tiny things, and unfortunately, like, they had to leave out a lot of stuff from the books because there's a lot of lore. There's a lot of lore in Dune. And so they had to leave some of it out in order for them to make a movie adaptation of it. And even then, they found a way to explain all the important shit, so you can kind of just basically grasp the bare bones concept of what's going on, and they fucking nailed it. Like there's no way this movie, like Garrick's saying in the chat, it might just be the greatest sci-fi movie I've ever seen. Like, honestly, like, they found a way to make sci-fi not... They found a way to make sci-fi grounded in reality. And that's something that sci-fi struggles with so much, and that is going to be the thing that makes Dune succeed. Because that's what Lord of the Rings did. They made Lord of the Rings grounded in a reality, and that blew us all out of the water.
And they made it emotionally compelling.
Yes.
Is what I think Lord of the Rings really did. And that is what Dune is really doing. And that is why I have big feelings on how well they marketed not just the movie, but the cast. I have big feelings on the cast. Because I really feel like it's what Ernell you're speaking to, is that, like, they grounded this shit all around so well. Like, one of the things that really sold the relationships in this movie for me, because whenever you have such a star-studded cast, it's dangerous. Like, let's just be honest.
That's facts.
It's dangerous. And they had a to the max star-studded cast that played off of each other so fucking well. And I love it because, like, even before we went into the movie, I had seen just little clips of, like, Zendaya and Timothy's interviews together. And I had seen, like, the red carpet premiere, like, clips from that of Timothy and Jason Momoa running up to each other. So by the time that they got to the movie, every single time they ran up to each other in the movie, my heart, like, melted because I know they greet each other like that in real life. Yeah. And, like, that shit sells the plot. Like, you know that Timothy and Jason are, like, their own people and they're their own thing, but, like, that shit sells it. Like, I was sitting there in the movie, like, heartbroken in the best way, watching these characters together because they were just so real.
Yeah,
they were so real.
They did a good job of, like, really making their relationships together feel right. Right? Like it just felt real. It felt, like, grounded in reality. Devin, I saw you looked like you were about to jump in for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say Josh Brolin and Oscar Isaac, too.
Oh, dude, they acted like they were actually, like, comrade, like, war friends. They acted like they were war friends. Oh, dude.
And that they've known each other their whole lifetime. Also, Josh Brolin in this movie, how stoic he was, too. And
Nailed it.
Present.
Oh, my God.
Fantastic.
So something, like, a note on that I talked with Arnell about after the movie was that, like, they did a really good job of, like, I think, like, it can be hard when you, like, typecast an actor, right? Because, like, whether we like it or not, a lot of actors get typecast. It just happens.
Yeah.
They really worked that to this movie so well, specifically with Josh Brolin and Jason Momoa, because you did not have to sell to me that they were, like, badass mofos who were about to, like, slay anybody who crossed in their way. Because I mean, like, every time Josh Brolin came onto the screen, I wasn't picturing Thanos, but at the same time I was like, yeah, you could destroy all of them. You are Thanos.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Thanos demeanor,
energy,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Also, I love it. He's like, you should smile. He's like, I am smiling.
Yeah, dude. So Garrick's in the chat. He says when the word brutal left Brolin's mouth, it actually gave me chills. And it's funny that I know exactly what part he's talking about because it did the exact same thing to me. Where I was like, oh,
yeah. And then that quick cut too, right when he said that. That quick cut.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. Yeah. This movie was just absolute magic. Absolute fucking magic. And, like, I remember thinking that, like, those 2.5 hours almost flew by. It flew by. Like, there were some parts that felt like they were slow just for that part, and then there would be something that happened afterwards that just kept things moving. And they did such a good job pacing this movie in a way that, like, that was like, hey, we have story building, action set piece, story building, action set piece, and everything just felt very even keel where it needed to be, and it kept my interest the entire damn time. Like I did not get lost in anything, and there were a couple parts where I was like, why did he do that? But like
Yeah.
that was very just like so minimal compared to. Yeah, the bullhead thing, like me and Genesee were cracking the fuck up because it's like the bullhead. Every time it came up, me and Genesee would dive because we were like, why is this bullhead still being shown this often? Why is it being shown this often? Like
Naomi had no idea what was going on. She was just staring at us because she hasn't watched any of the Dune things. She doesn't know the Dune lore. So like all she had coming in was the trailer. So she was actually pretty lost the whole time, and we left and she was like, honestly, I don't know what happened in that movie. I was like, oh, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's valid.
No, and that's okay. You know, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned to you guys after the movie was like, if you haven't really touched any, okay, we can actually get into that just very briefly. Is like, okay, well maybe in a second. If you haven't really touched Dune lore before, you might have a hard time with this, and that's fine. That's understandable because the same thing happened with Lord of the Rings. There were a lot of people that were weird about it. What's up, Devin?
I knew nothing about Dune before I watched this movie.
Really?
Like literally nothing. But
literally nothing.
I've never read the books. I've never seen the old movie. I've never dived into Dune lore.
What?
I went into this movie completely not knowing anything about Dune. And I don't know if I'm an outlier or anything. I can say that I understood the story and the concept and everything and caught on right away. I don't know if that's just because I watch a lot of movies like this or play a lot of video games like this.
No,
that was going to be my caveat. That was going to be my caveat is that I think especially with Naomi, like the reason why she was so lost, she doesn't do sci-fi. She barely fucks with fantasy. So if you are a sci-fi person, I think it'll make sense. Like, but it is very much like. I think comparing it to Lord of the Rings is absolutely on par because it is like that.
On that like comparison of Lord of the Rings and stuff too, one of my favorite things about this movie is the costume design and it being so futuristic,
but
being like a blend of futuristic and like medieval style like knight armor and like how they use swords mostly and like guns and missiles and everything like that are a thing, but they're mostly using swords and daggers, you know. And that was a really cool thing to me, and especially with like the houses and like the medieval like royalty style thing that they had going throughout the movie. I really, really liked that. That probably two of my favorite things with that is that right there. And I do like that I'll save that for spoilers.
Yeah, for sure.
But
what I was going to say is that it's funny that you mentioned that because one of my favorite parts about this movie is how they implement culture in such an interesting way, because a majority of this movie actually isn't even knights in armor and stuff. It's actually Middle Eastern. Most of this movie is like culturally based in the Middle East because of Dune, the planet. And the way that they handle having that costume design, the way the people talk, how they handle conversations with each other, the cultural difference of okay, maybe spoilers. I'll say that part. But there's some things that happen that are like, dude, like they really nailed down cultures for each individual faction that are coming into this movie, between the people that live on Dune, between the Harkonnen tribe, the people coming from Harkonnen. Like every single person has like a culture, and they signify that culture so specifically and so beautifully that we just understood. We knew who was from where just by looking at them and just by listening to them. And a lot of movies flop on doing that. The last thing I want us to get into is your rating, and would you recommend people see this right away in theaters and or HBO Max? Genesee, give it to us.
Okay. What scale do you guys do your stars on again? How many stars is it?
10.
1 to 10.
We do 10.
10.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So normally I hate star scales. You know this. Okay. I actually just recently had to rate a book with using a star scale, and I changed it like 5 times. Like I actually went back in and edited it because I felt so bad because I was like, well, I don't think it's 5 stars, but I put 3 and it shouldn't be 3 because it wasn't bad. It was a disaster. It was a disaster.
Sure.
This is easy. I'll give it 10 stars. I will honestly give it 10 stars. I have some like very nitpicky critiques about it.
Sure.
Or like criticism or whatever, but like that's very phenomenal movie. See it yesterday.
Absolutely. Devin.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna just originally give it a 9, but after this conversation, this is the first time I've actually talked about this movie with anybody since I've seen it. It's a 10. It is. It's a 10.
Yeah. I had originally thought about giving this movie a 9.5. After seeing it in the theaters with Genesee and Naomi, I watched it again on HBO Max yesterday with captions and everything because I am unfortunately have some hearing loss, and so it's a little hard for me to hear everything going on in the movie in the theaters, which we will get into. There's some stuff in this movie that's really obnoxiously loud, but we'll get into it. This movie's a 10 out of 10 easily. Any day of the fucking week. I saw it the second time. I was like, God, this movie is way more incredible than it has any business being. And I am here for it so hard, dude. Yes, go fucking see this movie in theaters.
Yeah.
In IMAX or XD. Like, pay the extra money for that experience. Like, Devin, you need to go see this on fucking theaters.
I want to. I just didn't have the availability to do that. And I will say this. See it in theaters. And then go watch it on HBO, because if you heard us earlier, Warner Brothers said that Part 2 is dependent on how it does on HBO Max this weekend.
Yes,
that's what they said. So if you can't see it in theaters till next week, watch it on HBO Max right now.
Yeah,
because this is the first 10 out of 10 that we've given
all year. All year, this is the first 10 out of 10, honest to God, that this year has fucking had so far. Like, there's no way this movie is beatable by any expansion of any other movie that's come out in 2021. This movie is incredible.
It's incredible.
And I know for a fact that Garrett gave this movie a 10. I already know. He was so hyped.
We are going to go into it right now. Garrett gave us his written in review of the movie, and it reads like this. Dune is a film that has set out to capture the epic mysticism and political turmoil of Frank Herbert's original sci-fi adventure and put in front of the right audience. I believe this movie will do just that. With visual and cinematic greatness rivaling Lord of the Rings, Dune is only hampered by the already existing divisiveness of its source material. Although strong performances from every cast member, both large and small, lend to an exciting drama that can be enjoyed by all, despite some of the assumed knowledge the movie leans on, as it is difficult to stuff 6 books worth of lore and story into a hopeful trilogy. What Dune does well, though, it does exceedingly well, and leading into Herbert's tale as a caution against the idea of heroes hits the nail perfectly on the head. Paul will be the hero, and the Mahdi, Kwisatz Haderach, that's what they call him. And we all see him being pushed to be, because the true powers at be, the Bene Gesserit, make it so. Paul's story will certainly change the galaxy, but whether that will be for any true sense or good or evil, though, will largely be left to debate, as it has been in the novels. I'm giving Dune a 9.5 out of 10, as I believe this film captured what Frank Herbert himself would have originally envisioned for his characters, from world building, costume design, and a perfectly executed score by Hans Zimmer. This franchise Hans Zimmer! Nolan Horror! This franchise's rebirth seeks to rival that of Lord of the Rings or the original Star Wars in cinematic greatness. As a final note on Dune, I would encourage everyone who has yet to see this film to see it on the big screen first. While it may be tempting to watch on HBO Max for its convenience, if it is safe for you to visit your local theater, this film deserves your silver screen attention. I'd say, like, whatever you can get to first, fucking do it, but absolutely try to get your ass in a fucking theater seat to see this.
Like, please do. Now, when we were talking about its box office, it's done 129.7 million globally. So that was over Europe, you know.
Yes, Europe, China, or not China, Japan, like East Asia.
Yeah, so that was globally. We will not have the numbers for domestic until this Monday, I believe.
Yes.
So I could see it this doubling
Easily.
personally,
Easily.
especially if they include HBO Max. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could see this doubling, no problem, because this movie's hype. It's hype. It's 10 out of 10.
It is
Hype.
hype.
Big time hype. Big time hype.
is hype.
And as a matter of fact, it is so hype. We are now going to get into spoilers. So for all of you listening and or watching at home, if you have not seen Dune or you do not want spoilers, please get the fuck out. We love you. Go watch the movie, come back, listen and or watch this, continue on from there. This episode will be live and public on Monday. Or you can go to patreon.com/goodkraken show and you can get early access to this episode tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. In the meantime, guys, let's get into spoilers. Genesee,
I have
go.
a
Just
thing.
fuck it up. Let's go.
I have a fucking thing. Okay, so first of all, I want to preface this by saying, I grew up not really being able to read, which is hilarious now because now people.
Oh, Genesee, I love you. Continue. It's just, the way you said it so nonchalantly. I grew up not being able to read. Great. I love that for you.
It's also really funny because I've always been a very academic type person. I've always presented myself very I don't know, competent ? And it's fascinating because people always assumed that I was a reader and that I was one of those bitches who was like, oh, well, the book was so much better than the movie. And I'm not. I've just simply never been that bitch. I was that bitch who watched I watched all the movies and I love the movies. I also really loved movies because it was one of the things that I got to share with my dad, which we didn't have a lot when I was younger that we did together, but we did movies together. And I finally got to experience, everyone had been talking about Harry Potter and I just simply couldn't read that much. I just couldn't. And so it came out on the movies came out and I was like, oh fuck, I get why everybody liked this. And then there was always that bitch who was like, oh, well, the book is so much better. And if you're not reading the book, then what's the point of watching the movie? And I was like, go fuck yourself, whore. I'm 10 years old.
I'll watch Twilight if I want.
And it's just always to me felt very ableist. That whole comparison between the books and the movies. And it's interesting now that I can read.
Sure.
I was sitting there watching it and I haven't read all of Dune because it still takes me a fucking cool minute to read shit, but
fucking yeah,
cool,
yep, love that.
But I was sitting there and there were some things where I was like, oh, this does have a very different vibe. So some of my nitpicky things are things from the book that I was surprised coming into the movie. I did want them to feel different. And it's also interesting because I love being able, now that I can read, being able to read it and watch the experience, because I firmly believe that there are two different experiences. Reading something and watching it are different experiences, and in a lot of ways they are different pieces of media. Sure, they're the same story, but watching Call Me by Your Name is a totally different experience from reading it. Anyway, I'll be doing an episode on that on Let's Get Bitchin' soon. So if you want to hear my cross analysis of Call Me by Your Name book versus movie, that'll be happening. But one thing that I like watching the movie, and this is why it's a spoiler, is because the scene where obviously when he's training, he's in the training room by himself, and then Josh Brolin comes in and makes the comment about not keeping his back to the door. I didn't like the way that scene was done. I am curious because that is almost a thing, because when I read it, that was such a poignant scene that conveyed a lot of relational energy and emotion. And I feel like that scene, when they did it, didn't feel like I didn't get from that interaction that they had a really strong connection. And that that comment about not having your back turned should have been a big thing. There was a lot of premonition and anticipation and care and love and disappointment, and there was so much conveyed in that interaction. That's also because their relationship is really fucking important.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
And
much so.
I feel like we didn't quite get that. Yes.
On that, we didn't really see what happened to Josh Brolin's character in the movie.
Sure.
So I feel like we're going to get that elaborated more in depth in part 2.
Yeah. So can I give this spoiler?
Absolutely.
We're
We're in spoiler section. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't a spoiler in the movie. It's from the lore, or like from the book. I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Yeah,
do that.
Devin, how much? So I've read the book. Devin, how much do you want of the lore as far as like backstory stuff that happens in the books?
I'm totally okay with talking about it because realistically, we're not going to be getting part 2 for quite a while.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And
So,
I will probably forget, or it'll be hindered in the back of my mind until I see something happen, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
so Josh Brolin's character was never on Dune.
Oh,
He was never on
so that's
Arrakis.
that's a big change. Okay.
So yeah, which I loved. I loved that. And actually from the trailer, like from watching the trailer, I was like, they would not hire Josh Brolin for this movie if he wasn't going to be a bigger part. So I was like talking to my dad about it, and he was like, I'm kind of surprised because he really shouldn't be in the first movie at all. Like and I was like, I have a feeling they're going to change the script. And he is going to they're going to find a way to get him to Arrakis. And I was 100% right. And he was. And they just found a way to not kill him. Because he's actually a much bigger part, like later in the series.
I look at Josh Brolin's character, and he reminds me of a Final Fantasy character from Final Fantasy X. He reminds me of Orin.
Yes, he does. He
Much does. He reminds me of Orin, or like it. Yeah. Or actually, let me put it this way: he reminds me a little bit of Aragorn in Lord of the Rings as well. You know.
See that?
Yeah, I get more
Just a
Aragorn
little
vibes
bit.
from Leto myself.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking more so like Fellowship of the Ring, Aragorn.
Oh, okay, sure. Strider. Yeah.
Strider version. Yeah. What Garrick says, warrior poet vibes, straight up.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, and it was interesting too because they go back later, and of course there's that kind of like parallel moment where they're in a it's not a sandstorm, it's when the there's a sandworm going to attack them, and they have that kind of parallel of watch your back, like don't have your back turned to the enemy. And that conveyed the emotion and the connection, and that part I was like, daddy, yes, give it to me, don't have your back turned, motherfucker.
Right.
That was hot. I was like, Josh Brolin, please.
I love you, Genesee.
Horny bonk. Bonk.
This movie did things to me, guys, and it shouldn't have. There was no sexual tension in this fucking movie, but I left feeling some sort of way. Like between Timothée Chalamet, Josh Brolin,
Oscar
Jason
Isaac
Momoa, the fucking dad even.
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
Oscar Isaac with the gray.
Oh, beautiful. And
Also-
his swoopy like half mullet thing was so beautiful on him. So
Did
beautiful on him.
anybody else when they were having that like really deep conversation in the middle of a fucking graveyard, which made me laugh for no reason? I didn't realize they were in a graveyard at first, and then he like mentioned like, with our ancestors around us. I was like, fuck. Wasn't prepared for that. But he was like talking to Paul about how he wanted to be a pilot, and I was like, did they do this on purpose?
Yeah. The Star Wars Easter egg. As soon as he said that, Sierra just went, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, Genesee did the exact same thing.
I was like, "But you were, Poe. You were.
You were, Poe." I want to say, like, he looked so much older than Star Wars, and
I know.
Like so much. They made him look older in this movie. You know what I mean? And
And they did it well. They did it well.
And exactly. And I know how the story goes, and I know that, he ends up dying. But
He died in this one.
I know.
He's dead.
I know. I just wish that his character could continue on.
I know.
Because he was so good.
Same
he was
with-
so good. But it's so important for the story, And yes, the rarest of mics, the silver fox, which I hope that I get graced with such handsome beauty someday.
I can only wish.
The older men in this cast were the oppress me daddy cast. You know what I mean? Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry, you're not prepared. Have I told you my oppress me daddy story? It's one of my favorite stories.
We'll get into it off stream because I need to hear this. I do need to hear this. But Garrick in the chat says, Genesee, you look at those blue Fremen eyes again and tell me there isn't anything sexual there.
That's true.
Because here's the deal. Zendaya with
you don't
blue,
hire
with blue
Zendaya if you don't want. Yeah.
Ooh-wee. You know what I'm saying?
That too is I came in prepared to be oppressed by Zendaya, and then I wasn't, so I was disappointed. But then,
can I say this about Zendaya though? She looks 12 to me, so I'm just not attracted like other people are.
See, that's how I am with Ariana Grande. I can't.
Oh God, I feel you.
But she looks younger than Ariana Grande.
I disagree. Sure. Well, also though, what I'll give you is I'm quite a bit younger than you guys. So Zendaya and I are just about the same age. I think I might be a little bit older than her, by a year.
Sure.
Her boyfriend and I are the same age. For the record.
There you go.
Yeah, Tom Holland.
There you go. It's all you, Genesee. It's all you.
Big
Genesee.
energy.
I love
me.
Tom Holland.
If I was in Hollywood right now, I would.
I know you're doing a lot of hair flips. You're airing yourself out a little bit.
I never wear my hair down, so I'm really. This is why I fucking play with it. I can't.
So I feel you because podcasting now, I'll keep this controller in my hands because it's so twitchy and so many buttons to press. It's just you know what I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, Zendaya. I feel what's really interesting about you saying that she looks so young though is that Paul is supposed to be 15.
Yeah, no, and I'm not meaning in the sense of the movie. I'm just in general sense. Sure. And Timothée Chalamet looks very young as well.
I disagree.
I think he looks
disagree.
young. He looks like he's 17 to 19 years old to me.
I could take that because they're in that weird in that weird age of Hollywood where you could be playing a 16-year-old teenager on Teen Wolf, or you could be playing a 26-year-old drug addict. We don't know, but we'll use you for everything.
At least it's better than Hollywood 20 years ago using 30 and 40-year-old males to play high school students.
Fun fact, actually, Lady Jessica, Timothée Chalamet, Paul's mom in this movie, is only 12 years older than him in real life.
Well, in medieval times, that would have been very normal.
That would have been their actual age difference.
With that said, I kind of want to go over some of my notes that I did on my second watch through with you guys. So I got a little on my phone here.
Did you see all prepared? Genesee and I are all just off the cusp, and Ernell's well, actually,
I had to streamline some of the shit because I had so many. First off, music is beautiful but really daunting sometimes. So that was me referring to how sometimes the music got really loud.
I agree with that.
Out of nowhere, I'd be like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" This is surrounding me,
especially
from all sides.
in the theater.
Oh,
yeah,
God,
there were times where it was almost a little bit too much. It was very overwhelming.
Because it wasn't just for a little bit; it was the entire time the score was playing. It'd be and then I'm "Where's Wonder Woman? Where do you come in?" Secondly, they had complete commitment to creating entire alien human cultures. I mentioned that earlier. I really enjoyed that. Me
too.
Their use of language, the ship design differences between them. One of the cool things that I noticed is the sign language that they were doing in the book. They call it the sub language, and the fact that they still implemented that in this, wonderful.
Oh,
it was.
like on that, I love how like like Paul and his mother, like how they knew other languages and could like do the sign language and communicate with each other, and same with like their guards too, like the security and how they communicated like that and stuff. Like the scene when she's being gifted the s- the knife,
Yeah, the Chris, the Chris blade.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Chris blade, and how like her guard was just on it with just the little hand gestures, and like
Incredible.
I love that part that says "be ready for violence," and I was like,
Yeah.
let's go.
I mean, I was totally fine with the way that scene went, but just like the way that like they established that, like think about the soldiers of their house and like doing like covert missions and how they can just communicate to each other with hand gestures. You know what I mean? It was just, I mean,
And then
it's a real language in real life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right. But and you see that come up, like they do use it in emergency situations. Like that's how they're able to get off of the aircraft.
Yeah.
But not just that, but like what Ernell was talking earlier about, like the idea of cultures and how there are so many different cultures at play and so many different aesthetics. They really communicated that through languages as well. Like we don't speak any of them. We don't know, like we don't, and a lot of these languages are made up. So like we don't know what's happening, but there was still so much emotion conveyed in those signs when she is talking to the servant, to the Fremen, I should say, because at first she starts talking to her as a servant, and I believe she switched languages while she was talking to her and starts talking to her in the language of the Fremen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that scene fucking gutted me because it was so like she was leveling with her in a very real way, and and that was very important too because she is very loyal to the Duke even though they are not married, and this to me felt like an attachment to that loyalty, and then also her loyalty to the cause of the what is it, the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah.
And like this, you can tell that Lady Jessica has such a large heart and wants to connect with people. And so you have like the mission of the Duke that is to connect with the Fremen and to protect them and honor their traditions. And then you also have just what seems like this very genuine care on the part of Lady Jessica to level with this person who is going to be her servant. And who is interviewing for a servant position, speaking in her tongue and accepting a gift that is a weapon from her. I mean, it was just all of that conveyed through a very short scene, primarily through language.
And
if I may, real quick,
Yeah.
just before you go, Devin, what my next note is actually they're not explaining everything about everybody, and the reason I bring that up is because there's some really interesting details that are in the book about these characters that they don't really express in the movie. One of the most interesting ones is actually about Lady Jessica. She is a concubine,
Right.
and they don't really express that in this movie. She is Leto's concubine, and she had fallen in love with Leto, and they had a child together against the wishes of the baby Gesserit, and ended up having a boy. Even though that's not what the plan was with her being from the baby Gesserit, they were supposed to have a girl. She was wanting to crossbreed with the man that she was going to have children with to make a woman child, or a woman child, right? A girl, have a girl. And to answer your question, Mike, in the chat, they're not married because Leto is very, very much royally and politically focused. He understands that, like, in these times, in this universe, they have to marry for political reasons. So he is staying away from marrying Lady Jessica because he's saving himself for being able to marry someone from a different culture, a different group, or a different faction in order to have political leverage, because he's a good king. He knows what he needs to be doing on that end of things. But he is in love with Lady Jessica. And that's why he says partway through the movie when he's laying on his head on her lap, he says, "I should have married you." And it's like a goofy part that they were just sort of signing about that. But yeah, there's little things like that they don't really show in the movie that I can see having a little bit more appreciation as someone that had read the book. Jesse, go ahead.
That's super interesting too, because I'm thinking about what you were saying about the kind of prequel series that they're gonna have.
The Sisterhood,
And I
yeah.
think I think a lot because that's gonna follow the Bene Gesserit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that is gonna speak to a lot of things they just didn't touch because you don't need to focus that heavily on the Bene Gesserit in the movie. You just don't. Especially if you're going to have a prequel where you can explain their breeding practices. That's really fucking important. The fact that they can control what gender of child they're having. And Lady Jessica chose to have a son. That's not a small shit. That's like a big shit.
There's bigger reasons that of why she chooses to have a son that I don't really want to dive into for you guys, because that could be spoilers for you guys. But Devin, you were gonna jump into something before I interrupted. What were you gonna go into?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. I'll kind of I'll keep reading through my notes really fast and see, or maybe if something pops out, just speak in it on it, Devin.
Oh, actually, I do remember.
Okay, go ahead.
It's more about an imagery thing.
Sure.
When the Emperor's court goes to task them with going I'm forgetting the name. What's the name of the planet? Arrakis. I almost said Acrius because of the new Pokemon game that's coming out.
Sure. Yeah.
But Arrakis, the formal clothing and attire that they wore, like, looked so like prominent and respectful, and the way that they had everything lined out. It also it reminded me of no, not the court, but
no, I know. I'm joking.
House Atreides. It reminded me of Gundam.
Yeah, it was very Gundam.
Yeah.
Like they're they're blues, basically. Like they're blues.
Yeah, the blacks and the golds and the reds and all that. And
ceremonial.
Yep. It reminded me of Gundam a lot. And same with a lot of the spaceships. The spaceships were they looked so weird. Some of them were so weird looking, and some of them were so cool looking. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, everything that was designed for like the Harkonnen was so like weirdly like xenomorph-ish in a weird way, and I really heavily fucked with it.
It reminded me, like, those weird like spherical ships reminded me of Arrival.
Yeah,
you know?
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And also the Harken remind me a lot of like Star Trek Genesis.
There we go. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Like the weird cyborg guys that are like connected to shit and whatnot. Yeah, that's very
like them if they didn't have the cyborg shit. That's what they reminded me of. Or like, or kind of like a StarCraft as well. You know,
or like the Matrix, but like when they're plugged in and shit. You know what I mean? Like Matrix 3 and like stuff like that. Like Garrick. Oh, sorry. So Mike says I really love like the future medieval meshing of everything.
Oh yeah,
big agree.
Yeah. That was my biggest thing about the whole imagery of the movie.
And then Garrick says, yeah, the history in the books actually explains the future medieval cross look to things. Yes, it does. And Mike said we can talk about Emperor Callus's ship in orbit, the Leviathan. Yeah, that ship did look like Callus's ship from Destiny.
Yeah.
So my next note was, why is Mom crying so much?
Yes. That was something.
She cries fucking 8 times in this movie. I don't know why she's crying so much, but she cries a lot.
Out of fear?
That Lady Jessica does not. Sorry.
No. Hold on. Okay, so real quick, Genesee, could you turn your gain down on your microphone just a smidgen for me? Is the gain wheel up? Yes, turn it down a little bit.
Is this it?
There should be the little turny thing right in the front. The little knob in the front. It should say gain right on it.
There are like 3 knobs. Yeah. It says volume.
Oh, volume. Yeah, turn that down a little bit. Turn that one down.
Because there are like 3 knobs on this little bad boy.
I know. There's the one in the back.
Is that better?
That is better. Yes, that is better. Thank you. She fucking cries a lot. And even Genesee heard me in the theater be like, why is she crying again? Like, you don't have to cry now. Like,
and it got so bad. Like, I started laughing every time she fucking cried. I laughed through the entire death scene of the Duke.
Okay, that was my fault though. That was my fault though, because I was like, she's crying. Because I literally, on Devin, I out loud, I said, oh, here we fucking go. Because I saw her, she started crying. I was like, oh God, she's crying again. And like, I just, and Genesee starts fucking dying. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
And I can't laugh quiet. So this whole movie theater, this whole XD movie theater,
go,
laughing.
Go, Devin. Go, Devin.
Dude,
What's up? What's up?
Besides her crying, can we talk about how badass she was though too at the same time, and her combat abilities and stuff? Like, again, I don't know the lore. I don't. So it was really cool just seeing her. Like, she would always save it for the right moment, but she would just wreck house. You know what I mean?
A really interesting thing about that is that she is supposed to be super badass. She also technically, I think in the lore side of things and in the book, she doesn't have like combat skills. She uses magic, and that's what the Bene Gesserit are. Is they're basically witches, right?
Yeah.
But like super, I mean, it's super intense, very powerful. And you see that they talk about the voice, right? And that was very obvious when they're using the voice. Technically, when she's doing combat things, she's using one of her powers. I believe that's actually magic that she uses to whoop ass.
Yeah, well, dude, can we put some respect on any time the voice was used in this?
That was done so fucking
the
well.
The coolest sound designs ever. Just like they used it in such a way that was like not overdone. Like the Jedi mind trick, right? In Star Wars, like they weren't going around just mind tricking fucking everybody left and right. It was just like they used it tastefully, and it's like so it made it so that every time it popped up, it was just so fucking cool. It was so fucking cool.
And that weird like subsonic like multi-layer voice that would come out when they do it. And remember that scene
too.
Yeah. And remember the scene like in the beginning of the movie when she's like, tell me to give the water to you. Tell me. And then he would just say it, and she was like, no, tell me. And like went through it over and over and over. And then when she gave the water to him, she's like, almost there.
Well, and I love to like actually on the ship when like he technically did it. It wasn't as powerful as it could have been, but then she signs to him in the sub language, try a different pitch, right? Which means that there's way more to this than just what Garrick is saying in the chat. No magic here though. LOL. Only space drugs, because that's technically what it is. The witches, everyone in this universe is using spice. That's why they all have powers, because the spice unlocks a part of your brain that can give you the ability to do different things. And the witches use the spice as well. Very much so. Like they very much use this fucking spice stuff. But seeing that like there's more to it than just spice. There's more to it than just magic, than just teaching those things. There's specific ways to cast these spells, to do these things, like the voice. He had to find the perfect pitch in the perfect moment. And he couldn't do it, even though he's supposed to be the one in this fucking story or whatever. There's a lot of really, really cool little tiny subtle things like that they use. I just really fucking like the sound design of the voice. Like Devin was saying, that multi-layer, like it was so fucking cool, dude. Every time it came up.
Yeah, that and the way that, like, in general, like, I think something with a movie like this, similar to like in Lord of the Rings, something that's really hard to nail is like the nuances of what's going on. And in this, it's very much like the magic. Same thing with like not just the voice, but his psychic abilities. There's a lot that happens for Paul and his psychic abilities, and that was conveyed beautifully in the movie. And showing the progression of his sight, the more that the longer he was on Dune, like all of that.
Yeah, and the his like quote unquote allergic reaction to spice is just like awakening his abilities, like and that's why it's freaking him out, you know.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna burn through the rest of these notes here, just kind of like, you know, if you guys have anything that you want to touch on as I read this, kind of speak out on it. The scale of everything is just chef's kiss. A lot of lore not being explained. Lord of the Rings problems. I noted that because Lord of the Rings had the same issue too, where it's like there's so much lore that they have to fit into 2.5 hours that like they just couldn't. So there's some important things that got left out, but they kept the necessary stuff in there too, which was totally fine. And then I know everyone is acting the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah.
Because everyone acted the fuck out of this movie, dude. They were so on par. UN got ripped off so bad. So in the book, and just a tiniest bit bummed out about this because I do think that they could have pulled this off if they tried really hard. UN, the doctor guy who betrays everybody, the traitor. In the book, there's actually an entire section where they're trying to find out who the traitor is. And I think that could have fit really well into this, and I'm hoping that they have something like that in the deleted scenes when this comes out on disc. Because that would have been a really, really cool thing to see, sort of a like mystery thing of like, because it sort of like builds up. There's things that happen in the city that they know, like there's a traitor here. Like things are happening. Like there's a fucking traitor here. We know there's a traitor. We have to find out who it is. But they still handled it really well. Considering that everything UN does and whatnot. So they did pretty good. And then I know this fucking Wonder Woman song, bro, LMAO. I fucking love it. Subcommunication is so rad. They don't really explain why Jessica and Leto aren't married. We talked about that earlier. The Hunter Seeker looks sick. Did you guys like that part? The little mosquito guy? The little mosquito boy?
Like on that subject with Paul being trained by Josh Brolin's character, for combat, and they show their training scene, right? But the subtleties in showing how trained Paul is and the way that he dodges it and moves and catches it right away before it hits their servant and stuff like that, and also the end of the movie as well. Like I really liked how they did that, very minimalistically, but also very powerful at the same time, where it showed that he is very capable of the situation that he's actually
very
in.
much so. Very much so. And it only goes to show what Josh Brolin's character can do.
Yeah.
And why they don't show him dying. He's gonna show up again. And it's going to be dope when he does.
Yeah.
And even the Harkin talked about how he's one of the greatest fighters to ever be seen, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It also shows, not just in his, ability, but that last fight scene was beautiful. I mean, the symbolism behind that entire interaction with her giving him the knife, with just, that I was like, oh God, that level of connection almost makes up for the fact that we got 10 minutes of Zendaya in this movie. But,
sure.
Because that was just, I'm a dirty hoe for some good old fashioned connection. And that did it. She was like, oh, this is my, grandmother's knife or aunt's knife or something, and I was like, don't make me cry. But when it shows his level of honor, that not only is he going to show up and meet in the Fremen's tradition of a duel, but he didn't recognize that before he went into that fight, he didn't know he was going to have to murder someone.
Yeah.
And it was to the death. And that honor that he showed of giving that man every opportunity to yield and then telling him, why don't you yield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so powerful. At the same time, I feel like I didn't understand in the movie that he had never killed anybody. I assumed because he was a prince, or not a prince, but he was in line to be Duke.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of figured with my different ideas of that kind of time, because it very much does give medieval, but also Italian or English royalty, that type of vibes in terms of time, of very much you're sent off to war the second your voice drops, you're making babies the second you turn 14. It gave me those vibes. So I felt when she said, oh, Paul has never killed a man, I was like, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah.
This poor baby.
Yeah. And now he's there. And now he's there. Rares some mics in the chat. He says, what the fuck is up with the Duke of the Harkonnens? So as much as I want to answer that, that would spoil a lot of stuff that's happening in the story that I don't know if they're going to try to use as like a plot device later on. But the Duke of the Harkonnens, Baron Harkonnen, actually, sorry, he is the way that he is because of the Bene Gesserit. More specifically, the main witch woman, I forget her name off the top of my head.
Reverend Mother.
Reverend Mother, yes. She has a relatively personal relationship with Baron Harkonnen, and yeah, there some stuff happens. She's very much responsible for why he is the way he is, but he is also responsible for the way he is the way he is. I don't know. I don't want to fuck it up for you guys because I don't want to give you guys like future spoilers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I was just looking this up. For Garrick saying that it's Skarsgård. No mistake, it's not Bill Skarsgård, it's Stellan Skarsgård, which I believe is his father.
Bootstrap Bill Turner.
Yep.
That's who Baron and Baron.
Yeah.
You're a thief and a liar, and you'll spend an eternity on this ship.
You're a thief and a liar. Interesting fact, just on the subject of sci-fi, he is also slated to be in episode 1 of Andor, the new Star Wars series that is going to be coming to Disney Plus. So it looks like he's turning into being more of a sci-fi actor as well now.
It's going to be dope. It's going to be dope. And actually, funny enough, my next note said Baron Harkonnen, wow. Because Skarsgård, he fucking killed that part. He killed that part.
Okay. Can we talk about how that family, just in general, kills all of their roles, and they are all fantastic character actors?
Well, one of my next notes here is actually Batista's character, who is supposed to be Baron Harkonnen's nephew. He did a little bit dirty too, because in the book he's way more important than they kind of let him off in the movie. Because they kind of only show him in 3 parts of this fucking movie. And
there's also part 2 though of Dune.
Yeah,
so he has.
Sure.
I feel like that's where he's going to live up, just like how we talked about Josh Brolin's character. You know, I feel like we're going to really see those characters more in depth in part 2, because you know that's what they do.
I sure hope. The only thing that concerns me about this, and like I'll kind of mention this sort of just off like the last couple of things I had in my notes, is just like every single Shai Hulud was stellar. Did Zendaya really make that much money to spend an afternoon on set or something? There's like little notes like that. But anyways, the last thing I really want to say, because we are kind of coming close on time here. The only thing that concerns me about this being a part 1 is that based just strictly off the book and where they ended this movie, technically they're like 2/3 of the way through the book. 2/3. They're kind of like really coming in. I'm wondering like how expansive they're going to make part 2 as far as like how
is it gonna bleed?
Yeah, how they open things up a whole bunch, and like what are they going to do to really like suspend those scenes a little bit more to like fill that time, because there's some stuff that happens. Garrick says I think it's only really going to cover the first 2 books in the trilogy. That'd be weird. We'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, like obviously I have very minimal concerns.
It's not a trilogy. There's more than that, isn't there?
Well, there's a main trilogy, and then there's like continuation story. But like there is a main trilogy. But this is mainly they're talking about only kind of doing like the first book of the first 2 books of the main trilogy, but it'd be kind of weird for them to leave out the 3rd. But we will see. With that said, do you guys have any final thoughts before we kind of get off here and move into post-show stuff?
Go watch Dune.
Yeah. That. Yeah. I just had kind of a general question that also speaks to what you're saying about the potential timeline. Did you guys ever watch the sci-fi channel adaptation of Dune?
No.
The show?
Like early
the show?
2000s? The show.
Yeah. No, I did not, just mainly because the movie was so bad that I was like, am I really going to like this? Like, you know, but I heard it was fun. I heard it was fun at the very least.
Yeah, I did. But I haven't watched it in many years. I think I watched it like when it came out. I don't even want to know how fucking old I was, but I remember it. I enjoyed it, but also I was like a straight up fucking child. So like don't take that with a lot of stuff. But my dad did really enjoy it, and I would take his recommendation with a grain of salt, or like with some seriousness.
With 200 grains of salt. Yes.
200 grains of salt.
Yes,
Yeah, opposite
2,000,
analogy.
2 million.
What
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
not
yeah.
going
No,
for.
I got you, I got you.
And they did, I believe that series was the first 2 books. I want to say. So I was wondering if they were going to take a similar approach with the movies. But yeah, go fucking watch it. It was great.
Go watch it. Go watch it. Fucking Mike in the chat is killing me. He said, I do have a serious question now. And I replied to him in the chat and said, what's up, baby? He said, do you have a CDL for that dump truck of an ass you've got on you? And the answer, Mike, is not yet. But I will. Anyways, everybody, thank you for coming in and watching this episode, our Dune review. Our schedule for this week, on Tuesday, we're doing another Good Kraken podcast. We're going to be talking some more horror subjects for our headlining segment, giving you all the wonderful nerdy news that you want to know about. Wednesday, because we had to cancel our stream last night, we're going to basically just commit next week to House of Ashes, our 2-part thing. So on Tuesday or Wednesday, me and Devin are going to be playing the Dark Pictures anthology, House of Ashes, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Be there or be circle. And then on Friday, we are doing part 2 because apparently these things are just about 4.5 hours. We beat it in just about 4.5, 5 hours total, right, Devin?
Yeah. We'll do a longer run through this Wednesday compared to last time where we did it on Friday, just because some of us got some things to do, but we promise you we got some content.
We also had some bugginess on my end because I didn't have my graphical driver updated and shit like that. So we should be way more smooth this time around. And then Friday, same thing, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be finishing House of Ashes that night. And that night we will be playing until we fucking beat it. So next Saturday. Oh, actually, no, I fucked that up. That's the following Saturday. Next Saturday is another regular episode of the Good Kraken podcast. We're going to be talking about whether or not Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie. And it's going to be so fucking fun. Guys, please let us know in the comments down below and or on Twitter or on patreon.com/goodkrakenshow what you thought of Dune. And whether you think people should be going and seeing this in theaters, on HBO Max, what have you. In the meantime, this has been the Good Kraken podcast. Your choice for all the nerdy video game and pop media news, reviews, and discussions that you wanted to hear. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and Saturday at 12 p.m. right here at twitch.tv/GoodKrakenShow. If you enjoyed the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/GoodKrakenShow, where you can submit questions and topics to the show. You can get exclusive post-show content, and you can have early access to episodes before they go live on podcast services and video services across the 7 seas. But you can also support us by going... What was that? What? What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay, I thought you did. You can also support us by going to our YouTube channel by clicking that beautiful bell and big red button, or by subscribing to our podcast channel by searching Good Kraken with an exclamation mark and leaving a review there. We got a post show that we got to record, but until next time, my friends, be good to each other.
And remember, for me, it's the McChicken, the original chicken sandwich.
God, fuck damn.
Oh, fuck.